If you're a high school or college student, there is one mistake that gets students written up for plagiarism, even when they swear they didn't cheat. And here's the problem. Most students think plagiarism just means copying and pasting, and it doesn't. And I often find students don't do it on purpose, and really it's important for them to learn the right way. In fact, the most common types of plagiarism happen when students are trying to do the right thing by researching or paraphrasing. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the types of plagiarism that actually get students in trouble, what they look like in real assignments, and how to avoid them before they cost you points or way worse. But here's a quick disclaimer before we begin. This video is for educational purposes only and is not affiliated with or endorsed by any specific school or institution. Academic honesty policies do vary by school and instructor, so students should always follow their own course guidelines, their own university guidelines, and ask their teacher or professor if they're unsure. Hi. I'm Dr. T, and I work with high school and college students around academic writing and college readiness. This breakdown is inspired by how Bowdoin College explains plagiarism because they do a great job of being clear, practical, and student-friendly. I'm also using a lot of other resources, and I'll be sure to link them in the description because, yes, modeling proper citations matters. I really want to stress that this video is designed to be helpful and informative and not to blame in any way and to just give you the lay of the land. I often find that most college students who are brand new freshmen to my writing 101 classes will sometimes unintentionally plagiarize or not cite something correctly, and it's not because they're doing it intentionally, but it's really, really vital that you learn very, very quickly so that you learn how to write correctly, how to cite correctly. It's really vital because academic honesty is important. It's important to act with academic integrity. And this is really about providing you with the tools, the skills, and the knowledge so that you can become an empowered writer, so that your own ideas can shine and you can write with clarity and with confidence and use evidence appropriately to support your own ideas. I want to take a minute to also talk about what makes good writing, and one of my favorite books is William Zinser's On Writing Well, and I really love this quote that he has about simplicity, and it's something I still have to work on. I tend to be overly verbose, put too many words, but I really love this quote that the secret of good writing is to strip every sentence to its cleanest components. Every word that serves no function, every long word that could be a short word, every adverb that carries the same meaning that's already in the verb, every passive construction that leaves the reader unsure of who is doing what. These are the 1,001 adulterants that weaken the strength of a sentence. That's some deep stuff. So, what am I trying to say? Be clear on what you are writing. What are your ideas? What's your thesis? What do you want to say in this paper? What's your claim? And how does each paragraph in your paper connect to your main overarching ideas? How does each paragraph connect to your overarching thesis? Then how can you use sources appropriately to support your own ideas? That means you shouldn't have quotes that stand alone without your own ideas connecting, okay? That's one of the first things I work on with college students. You don't want to have a quote standing alone in a paragraph. It needs to be introduced. It needs to be connected to your own ideas. It needs to have some sort of a transition, all right? So be clear on what you want to write about. And that starts with actually a blank sheet of paper or however you take notes. Sketch it out. Plan your writing. Organize yourself. I'm old school. I like to sketch it out, but sometimes I also, for a larger paper, will have an outline that's on a Google Doc, whatever works for you, but it all has to start with a plan. So as I mentioned, the Bowdoin Office of the Dean of Students has a really great, simple one-page resource on the common types of plagiarism. This video is loosely based on it, and it goes over the exact types that I will be mentioning in this video, including direct plagiarism, self-plagiarism, mosaic plagiarism, and accidental plagiarism. And it also has some great embedded links. I'll include these in the description as well, and hope you find it helpful. So I really love the Harvard Guide to Using Sources and what constitute plagiarism. They do a really great job of explaining that in academic writing, it's considered plagiarism to draw on any idea or any language from someone else without adequately crediting that source in your paper. And I love that they share. It doesn't matter whether the source is a published author, another student, a website without clear authorship, a website that sells academic papers, or any other person. The idea that they stress is that taking credit for anyone else's work is stealing, and it's unacceptable, right? So we really want to make sure, whether you do it intentionally or by accident, that you are fully aware. It's really important that you empower yourself with this knowledge. So let's get into it. Direct plagiarism. All right, this one is the one that everyone thinks they understand. Direct plagiarism is copying someone else's words word for word and submitting them as your own without quotation marks and without citation. And this could include copying from a website, copying from an article or book, copying another student's work, copying AI-generated text and turning it in as if you wrote it. And I've seen this. Here's the rule to remember. If you didn't write the words and you didn't clearly quote and cite them, it's plagiarism. And this type is considered intentional academic dishonesty, and it often carries the most serious consequences, either failing an assignment, failing a course, or academic misconduct charges. And the bottom line is, if it's copied and not clearly quoted and cited, it's not okay. Now, this one surprises students every single semester. Self-plagiarism. This happens when you reuse your own work without permission. For example, submitting the same paper in 2 different courses, copying large sections from a previous assignment into a new one, even though you wrote it. Each assignment is expected to represent new, original work for that course, unless your professor explicitly says otherwise. If you want to reuse or build on your previous work, that solution's simple. Ask first. Get permission, save the email, and also make sure you cite your own work appropriately. This other one I think should be taught in high school, and it isn't always. Mosaic plagiarism. This is the #1 plagiarism issue I actually see, and it catches students completely off guard. Mosaic plagiarism is sometimes called patch writing, right? So it's when you borrow phrases from a source without quoting it, swap in synonyms but keep the same sentence structure, follow the original source a little too closely. And here's the part most students don't realize. Even if you include a citation, it could still be plagiarism. Citation gives a credit, but it does not give permission to copy language or structure. So a safer strategy looks like this. Read the source. Close it. Then explain the idea in your own words, as if you were teaching it to someone else. If your sentence still sounds like the original author, you're too close. Now, this next one I see a lot with newer college students, and it's accidental plagiarism. And this happens when students forget to cite a source or misquote information or paraphrase too quickly without realizing it or lose track of sources while researching. So here's the most important thing to understand. Even if it's accidental, it still counts. And plagiarism is about responsibility, not intention. But here's the good news. Accidental plagiarism is usually what I call a skills issue and not a character issue. And skills can be learned, and they should be learned and taught. I want you to learn this and really practice it, okay? Because how to cite correctly, actually, there are so many resources out there. It's amazing. And one of the best free resources I recommend is the Purdue Online Writing Lab, often called the OWL at Purdue. Before we even do that, I want to talk about two citation types that students often get confused about. Narrative citation is when the author's name appears in the sentence. For example, according to Smith, executive functioning develops throughout adolescence. Versus a parenthetical citation. This is when the author and year appear and in parentheses. Executive functioning develops through adolescence, Smith, 2022. Both are correct, and they're really about being consistent, clear, and accurate. Good writers often do a combination of the two. I will add, it's just really important to be strategic in what you're doing and to make sure it flows nicely while you're writing. But understanding the distinction between narrative and parenthetical citations is a really important skill to learn and something to practice, I think, while you're in middle school and high school, so that when you get to college, it almost is like you are driving an automatic car, if you know what I mean. All right. Now, let's review some online resources. I mentioned the OWL at Purdue. The OWL at Purdue is a fantastic resource because it is going to allow you to see a sample paper that's annotated, whether it's an MLA or an APA. So this is going to be a fantastic resource. So here I am at the OWL of Purdue website, and I'm looking at an APA sample paper. I'm going to scroll down, and what I really, really love is that you can download the paper and you can actually look at the markups, which I think are particularly helpful. And so when you do that, it'll be really helpful for you to see it in full screen. So this, for example, will tell you exactly the format that you need to have APA formatted paper. There's a similar one for MLA as well, the Modern Language Association format. As you can see, it'll even tell you this paper should be centered, bold, written in title case, right? The affiliation, the author's affiliations need to be noted. And it also tells you exactly, so you'll see the blue over here will tell you what you need to do if you're a student paper in APA, so on and so forth, okay? So again, it'll tell you that the paper's title is bolded and centered above the first body paragraph, for example. But here's where I want to show you a little bit more clearly how we can look at whether we have parenthetical versus narrative citations. I think this is a really great paper to demonstrate it. As I mentioned, a narrative citation will have the author's name in the sentence. So according to Thiel, 2017, so you'll see the date of publication is in parentheses, but the author's name is in the sentence. And then there is a direct quote. As I can see here, there's an ellipsis, which means that there are portions of that statement removed. And so that tells us that the writer of this paper has selected some pieces to remove. And this is really helpful because we can go back to page 91 and see the full sentence if we wanted to. Okay. As you can see, this whole statement over here follows with a parentheses, Lewis, 1996. And as you will see, this is in the center of the sentence. And this is important because it follows with another idea that is not attributed to Lewis. So you will see that sometimes it is appropriate to have your parenthetical citation in the middle of your sentence if you have additional statements, clauses, or phrases that follow that are not attributed to the author. On this next example, you will see that this one sentence is clearly attributed to Wilson, 1998, right? So this paper is really helpful because it will provide a model. It's also important to note that sometimes a range of authors will say something that is quite similar. And so in this case, you will have more than one author that you will have possibly within one parenthesis, okay? So when you're listing multiple citations, you're going to list them alphabetically and separate them with semicolons in APA, for example, okay? So this is a full 21-page paper that you have access to at the OWL at Purdue. I'm going to link everything in the description. Now, the MLA Style Center also has wonderful free resources if you are interested in learning a little bit more. I just clicked on the resources and I found this free resource on how do I format a quotation of song lyrics. And here you will see how they will show you how to cite the actual song lyrics and what that would look like according to MLA. And they even have a video tutorial on Instagram. So there are also great resources when it comes to MLA formatting. You'll even find they have interactive templates that can be really helpful. So that's really great. So again, I encourage you to look around, but I also want to stress really importantly that your college library most likely has wonderful resources and workshops, and the librarians are more than willing to help you, I am sure. So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about citation tools. There are tons out there. It could be EasyBib, MyBib, Zotero. There are so many available now. They can be helpful, but they're not perfect. They can still make formatting mistakes or miscapitalization rules. They might get dates or authors wrong. So I want you to think of citation tools as assistants, but they're not authorities, and you have to double check before submitting. And I learned this the hard way working through my dissertation. So it's really important that you track your sources and that you double check everything and that you really learn the expectations, whether you have to follow MLA or APA or Chicago style or whatever style you're expected to follow, because then you'll be able to catch those errors a little bit more quickly. So for larger papers, I also found it helpful to keep a spreadsheet of all my sources. Everyone has a different system, and I think what's really important is for you to learn about what system works best for you. And what's super important is thinking in terms of not just productivity, but organization, because if you need to find that source again, you should be able to find it and locate that source with ease. And I usually have a spreadsheet that includes the citation, key quotes, page numbers, and my thoughts and comments in one column. And I think it's really helpful to come up with a system that works for you. But the important piece is that it's all in one place, centralized, and can really help you in terms of making sure you have all of your citations where they need to be. I hope you found this video helpful. I wish you all the best in your studies and in your writing, and you've got this. Professor on your side here. See you in the next video.